Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Go Go Loser Ranger Season 1, Episode 6. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. It's basically come down to the wire with the examinations because they were doing kind of like a preliminary thing at the beginning. I guess it was more so like a practice round, and then like the final examination itself happens later on in the episode. But obviously, D is still trying to play the role of Sakurama, so he's like, "Oh, let's not fight the monsters. Let's protect the citizens first." But everyone else is focused on killing the monsters. Yeah, that's easier. Especially considering all the fighters are considered like punks and nothing that even the regular Rangers could easily handle. So, which even D himself, it's kind of interesting the team ups later on, because later on during the examination, everyone's split up into 5 groups. And basically, I might be misremembering, but if not most, a lot of those groups consisted of one person. He's kind of being like, oh, I should keep an eye on this person, and the other person's like, that's someone I shouldn't worry about, because it's like half and half. Like half the group he doesn't believe he has to worry about, whereas the others seem to be a lot more adept. So he's kind of like, yeah, I got to be weary of them. And obviously the biggest concern of his is Shion, because like he's the one that bumps head with Sakurama the most. I'm curious what the real Sakurama and him, like what their relationship was like, because there's that other dude that had beef with Sakurama, like was that last episode or whatever, being like, oh, like it's to do with like the black hair, who's kind of got like the spiky-ish black hair, who's kind of like, yo, this ain't just about like, you know, we can't just do your thing of wanting to be friends with monsters. Like Shion kind of shares that too, but like Shion seems like he has the biggest issue, but he's the one that's got the biggest chip on his shoulder, because it seems like his issue isn't just with Sakurama. I think Sakurama rubs him the wrong way, being all like, oh, want to be pro monster, but I think it's also like, right, he's like, I'm a solo this, I'm a handle this on my own, I don't need anyone else. He's just, you know, he's that stubborn character archetype, which obviously pisses D off the most, because it's like, you're the most frustrating. So he's trying to get like some idea from, I guess this is just her name now. Like, I don't know how you would pronounce it. Because at first I was like, well, because I know in Japanese 3 X's is kind of meant to be a blank. So I don't know whether, because her name's like XX. I don't know if that's just how they say it or whatever. But she's not really going to give him any tips on like how, like what any information Sakurama has about the exams. All she has to say is like, yo, like don't like put on a pathetic display or whatever. And don't like kind of like get too comfy with these people, because our plan is to take them down, which is still part of D's plan. It's like, right, got to take down some of this competition, work my way up so that I can eventually go for the jugular when it comes to the Dragon Keepers. That's his, you know, still his overall goal. But the final examination itself is, once again, everyone getting split up into 5 groups, and they're all going after one individual monster that's colored, that's tied to a key that they all need to collect. They have 3 days, but they only have 30 minutes every day, which, hearing that number and considering like the length of the episode covers that entire 30 minutes, I was almost like, oh, I wonder if this episode, it's not really, but I was like, oh, it's interesting that this episode is pseudo in real time. It's not, but you get what I'm saying. It's not DBZ 5 minutes Namex exploding type of thing. That's what I was kind of wondering. I was like, oh, this episode's been going on pretty long, and we still hadn't reached the first 30-minute marker. But yeah, like that doesn't happen till literally not even till the end credits. So for the most part, it kind of fits that almost like real time frame, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know too many, because anime time is anime time, and it's like, oh yeah, this once again, go back to like the most notorious one, Namex 5 minutes lasted at least a dozen episodes. I haven't seen DBZ in so long that I don't remember the actual episode count number. But either way, you get the point I'm making. But I thought that was kind of an interesting stipulation of, hey, you've got 3 days, but you only can, like, the exam itself is only 30 minutes every day. And if you're able to pass, like, if you're able to get the key, that means you pass. It's also interesting, too, because it's like they're not really in competition with each other in that respect. So, like, everyone can win or everyone can lose type of thing. So, I think that's really interesting. But obviously, D gets saddled up with Shion. I love that the first person they run into is Suzukiri, who's still unaware that Sakurama isn't Sakurama, because they haven't run into each other. Like, I don't think she's seen Sakurama since like episode 2, because obviously, like throughout the rest of episode 2, it was D in disguise, and then he was off doing his own thing while D was with Suzukiri in episode 3. So, and then obviously Sakurama and D were together in episode 4, and now he's like off doing his own thing, like staying hidden. So, just it's interesting. So, I was wondering, and I love that reveal. Like, oh, okay, so that's who the monsters are. All the monsters are like the right hand people, the higher junior ranks that are basically the right hands to all the dragon keepers. So that's why Suzukiri's here. The little girl that's blue side person. I think what isn't Hisu like greens, and obviously Suzukiri is yellow. And then, surprise and surprise, we see a familiar face as Red, and that's Tokita, which I thought was so interesting. He's like, hey, he's not dead, because we were all like, oh, it seems like he's dead. It's like, nah, Fighter D messed you up bad, but you're not dead. But I also thought was interesting. I was like, wait, he's Red's right hand guy? But then I was like, had to remember, oh right. The Red Dragon Keeper killed his right hand guy 2 episodes ago. I was like, right, completely forgot about that. So I guess Takedo still being alive, like, yeah, you got a promotion, so they have to go up against him, which Red's kind of, well, D's like, well, I got him last time, so it's not going to be that big of an issue. It's like, to be fair, you caught him off guard, so, yeah, he's not, yeah, I mean, he's, he wants to act tougher than he is, but this episode, you kind of showcase, like, yeah, he is strong, despite how strong Shion is, even he was getting his ass handed to him, and it's like, I'm sure Shion is way stronger than Fighter D. To be fair, D's also got to worry about, I can't take even the smallest bit of damage because my disguise will be shattered. Even if like I take even this hint of like, I mean, once again, you hug someone too tightly, it's that fragile of a disguise. So it's like, oh, he has to be extra careful in that regard. So he can't be as aggressive, which is a problem when he's teamed up with the most aggressive one of the white dragon like recruit type of situation. So, but yeah, Shion's going full speed ahead, and Tokido is like whooping that ass. Like, he's like embarrassing Shion. It's like, all that shit talking you're doing, like, I'll handle this on my own. I don't need a weakling like you. Because D's like, yo, we should be working together. Like, let's kind of like fall back and organize. But he's like, no, I'm going to handle this on my own. Why don't you fall back? It's like, yeah. And to be fair, you saw all that shit. D's the one that walked away. Well, Sakurama walked away without a scratch. You're the one that's like, your eyes messed up. You're bloodied. He's kicked you, probably broken, or at least at bare minimum bruised. I really want to say broke some ribs or something, because he jacked Shion up. So, but it's like, yeah, because Shion's playing like head first because he's so stubborn. Like, we don't know what it is, but he's after one specific monster, which I'm like, well, that's interesting considering, like, well, we know like all the bosses are dead. Once again, they're supposed to be, but we also know the thing that killed Sakurama, Hibiki, and his sister's parents, along with that whole church cult, that thing is still alive today. So it never got killed by Blue all those years ago. Well, the previous Blue all those years, a previous Blue all those years ago. So I don't know if that's the monster he's hunting, or is there a different one? I mean, as we see with, once again, I'm gonna just call her XX. Like, the other fighters are their own thing, but they were like higher ranked fighters like her, but she seems to be the last one. So not unless she's the one he's after, I don't know. All he said was like, quote, that monster. So I'm like, who could it be, considering like they're all dead? I mean, I'd assume only the Dragon Keepers know like all the bosses are dead and all that's left are the fighters. Even people like XX, like all her squad, like everyone of her rank and ilk amongst the fighters is dead. Like, all you have is like the putties like D's. Once again, Shion's just running straight ahead. So it forces D to kind of have to fight a little smarter, because once again, he has to try and keep his distance and everything, but none of it's going to work, because once he get fair, he can't go all out against Takeda, and it's not easier when he also has to deal with Shion, who's just not really playing team player. So he has like a collision of, he draws Hisu, as well as like the 2 people that are after her, the girl with heterochromia, as well as the old dude who's kind of been at this for a while. They're in the green squad. So he kind of draws him in. And I love that line he says to Takeda, like, yeah, like, oh, you're playing the role of a monster, like, oh, you're talking about like come at you with everything. It's like, that's not how monsters would roll. It's like, they would win, they would fight. Doesn't matter how cheap you have to go about it. A win is a win, and the loser's the one that's left in the dust, you know. So kind of win by any means, and once you win, all is like the winner, whatever he had to do to win is forgiven because you won. So that's all that matters. I loved his plan where he basically got the heterochromia girl to like draw pictures of Hisu and Takeda so that he could have like a clear picture of their faces to focus on, and using like the fire extinguishers like as a smoke screen. That was so trippy. At first when like he attacked as Hisu, I was like, that's not the real Hisu because like the blade is different. Like Takeda wasn't even paying attention. Once again, why would you jump to the conclusion? Like, even though you're the, it's so interesting because he could smell that red wasn't red, like back in episode 2. No, back in episode 3. Yeah, back in episode 3, he could tell that red wasn't red. So, but part of me is wondering, like, well, maybe it's because you've been around red enough, you know, you can, you know, got a real good sense of his smell. But it could also just be, let's not forget, D has gotten better at it. Like, especially with Sakurama, he perfected the transformation because he even got Sakurama's eyes right. So it could just be like, no, his transformations are like pretty much flawless now, so that's why Takeda couldn't even. I mean, once again, maybe also all the fire extinguisher stuff was also messing with his sense of smell. It's just something to kind of keep in the thought in your back of your mind. But yeah, like she had a different colored blade. It was blue instead of like, as we saw previously when she drew her blades, they were green. So it makes a lot of sense. But he wasn't thinking about it. But then she shows up as he shows up later on as Takeda to attack her, and just kind of pitting them against each other, and none it will ever be the wiser on like how he orchestrated that inside the smoke. It's like, yeah, kind of the worst enemy. And just, I even love that shot when he was walking and he had transformed back into his like his duster form, and then he shifted over to, I think, Hisu, and then transformed into Takeda, or vice versa. It was just I love that shot. But yeah, kind of pitting them against each other. And especially because Hisu like has a very short temper. So she was like, okay, I literally warned you the next time you like accidentally attack me, I'm going to kill you. She was going for the jugular, like really going for him. It's like, she was also like, right, I might be a plucky high schooler and I'm younger than you, but I'm still 3 ranks higher than you. So add some honorifics to how you talk about me. Because she even gets on him later on. It's like, you didn't say son when you were referring to me. It's like, Jesus. You know, so it is kind of interesting. I wonder, does that out like in Japanese culture? I wonder, like, does your position, like, if you are younger, like, would someone have to like, you are younger but you are in a higher position, and how does that work in like Japanese cultural society? Like, would you probably would have to rank them as like son, because I would assume like position like outranks age type of thing. So like, regardless of someone's younger age, you're still in a higher position. So I think that's supposed to, just like this case. So I guess this kind of answers that question in itself. But either way, I don't know if I've ever really known that to come up in, you know, I'm not well versed in all like Japanese culture. I only know little bits here and there, but I don't think I've ever really come across that too much, or at least maybe I've never really taken note of it. Either way. But I also love, it's not just him like turning Takeda and Hisu against each other. It's also him playing Shion like a fiddle, because he knows Shion back and forth. I love that he kind of thinks back to the first episode, and it was like other fighters arguing, and then he kind of figured out like, oh, I know how to make Shion do what I want him to do. It's like, you're pretty simple. All I have to do is tell you to do the opposite, and I'll tell you to do something and you'll do the opposite. So it's like, oh, if I tell you to we should fall back, obviously you're going to run straight ahead. So he knew how to take advantage of that, and so it benefited him. So it's like, right, now I can make us semi-work as a team, because now I know what buttons to push and things to say to make you act a certain way, and all I have to do is work in accordance with that, and it's all kosher. So, and at the same time, the other two are going up again. Well, Hisu was kind of disappointed in the two after her, like her squad, but they were kind of desperate, especially like heterochromia, because he was like, oh, like I like that look on your face now, because she seems to have her own motivations for why she has to do this too. Because even D as Sakurama was like, you should probably like leave because you're actually a really good artist and you should focus on that. And she's like, yeah, I've got mixed feelings about that. She has her reasons for being here. I think being complimented on her art is awesome, because she was like, yeah, it's pretty rough sketches, but it's like, no, these are pretty good. But I think it's also the element of, yeah, but I have my reasons for being here, which we haven't really gotten into. We've been introduced to them really quickly last episode, but we haven't spent enough time with them to really know enough. You're spending more time with Shion this episode, but we still don't know what his whole deal is. So maybe that's something we'll really, really lean into more and more as the season progresses, maybe. But yeah, sadly, like despite them kind of backing like Takedo in a corner, doesn't matter because Hisu comes in to knock both Shion and Tokita out, because once again didn't like include San, and didn't use any honorifics when referring to her. So the problem is she's the real deal, and like luckily, well, Hibiki was kind of scared about having to deal. Not Hibiki. Oh, yeah. D was worried about having to deal with her, but luckily the other two got in the way, and so it came down to Takeda and Sakurama. And just I actually love how they handled it, where they saved it for the post credits, or the conclusion to that, where it's like, right, Sakurama has struck his face, but it's like, oh, like the headshot won't work because it didn't get through the mask. And just when they were about to deal blows to each other, which obviously Sakurama's extra nervous because D's like, dude, this sucks. Like, that blade's extra close. Even the smallest slice will fucking reveal me. So the 30 minutes are up. So they've got now 2 more days. This was probably their best shot, but it's like, because what they pulled off now won't work again. So it's like, you're not going to be able to pull that junk twice. Well, I also think it's interesting too, we only focus on these 2 squads. There's still 3 more out there, so I'm wondering, has any other squad already passed this first day? I wonder, is it all going to be resolved like the next episode? Like, it might not be as real. Once again, I keep saying real time, but once again, that 30 minutes was pretty much this entire episode, or at least a majority of this episode. So I'm curious if the next episode is going to be both the second and third day, because I doubt there's going, like, there's no way they're going to get it on the second day. They do, that'll be impressive, but I'd assume it's, in like classic storytelling fashion, it's got to be on the like third try. It's got to be like right before the last minute of the last 30 minutes that they'll have on, like, it's got to be something like that, where it comes down to the wire like that. But we'll have to wait and see. Some very, very interesting developments. We've officially hit the halfway point to the season, if I remember correctly. I think I said this at the beginning of the season, but this is supposed to be 12 episodes. So we're already at the halfway point. I'm excited to see where this all goes, like how you plan on tackling the whole Tokita situation next time, because once again, he's going to be a lot more prepared. I don't know where, you and Shion are probably going to have to definitely figure stuff out by next episode, but who knows. And also where the rest of the squad stand. Like, once again, did anyone pass? There had to be at least 1 or 2 squads that pass this first day, and that kind of showcases how good they are, type of thing, or maybe at least showcases how one of the people is pretty good, or maybe nobody did, and we'll figure things out on the second and third day. Either way, I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us. So the ending made it sound like the next episode might be the conclusion of the exam, which is why I was kind of curious if they were going to do both days, the second and third day in the next episode or not. But either way, I'm excited to see how it all plays out. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.